Hey, what is up? Welcome back, everyone. If you are a kid of the 90s, you know what that music means, and you also know that I can't keep it on forever. If you know that tune, name it in the comments or send it to me later in a whisper. If you're on Twitch, send it on the comments on YouTube or Facebook comments. I think Facebook comics works. And then also on Kick, any message that you send, I will receive. Let me know what the fuck it is, because I'm interested to know what your video game, 90s cartoon, anime music knowledge is. But without further ado, we're going to dive into this. And so I don't have any issues copyright wise, we're just going to hit this because the brief spoilers are in for chapter 1168. It's very Harold focused. We get a little bit of Shanks still, mainly Harold and Loki. It is all the bullshit that happened. I'm excited that it's here because now we know the full story based off these spoilers. That is all I'm going to say. As far as what actually happens, we'll have to see tomorrow or later whenever the full summary spoilers come out. And even then, we will see what the official translations say on Sunday. And remember, I'm here in Oklahoma. Sai is beating me. Sai is like a night owl like I am. Usually at 3 or 4, I'm at the gym. He is up recording with Brago or posting videos whenever these briefs and shit come out. But here in Oklahoma, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time is when the One Piece manga drops officially on Viz Media. And I like to take my time because if you look in the YouTube comment section, there are other One Piece content creators as well as Japanese native speakers that break down One Piece on a more comprehensive level than I ever could because I'm not a native speaker. And the puns, the way that you use the kanji, the katakana, and Oda's writing, there's a lot of things that miss me. I do try to pick up on the small details as much as I can, and then we have the community to bounce back off of each other. That being said, I want to go ahead and get right into these brief spoilers. There's not a lot, but what we do have is it changes. We got a glimpse of Harold at the end of the last chapter. Well, 2 chapters ago, he became a slave to the world government. We see he's going around doing shit. I don't think it's the way to do shit, Harold. There's after seeing Rocks, it's like he didn't learn, or he just doubled down on the way that he wanted to do shit. It is what it is. But this chapter is called Elbaph's Snow. So we start right where the last one ended. Loki grieving, murdering his whole clan, ask if Ida's gonna die. Ida died in a snowy day. So as soon as she died, it started snowing. Harold and Hydruden cried for her, and Loki suffered in silence while he was prisoned. So they did put him in prison for destroying the Brew village, but he just took that ass whooping, which is just being in prison, and suffered because he knew that he could do all he could do physically to avenge Ida and her death. We continue 14 years ago. So where the chapter ended, it was 15 years. So it's been a year since Shanks has been in the Holy Land and met Harold, or within a year's time. 14 years ago, Shanks was supposed to get a deep sea pact, but he didn't appear. So he went vanishing, and I think this is the time that he appears on Elbaph. Instead, they decided Harold will be promoted for a deep sea pact, and he became the Knight of God. Okay. This makes sense. So Harold probably did get Domi reversied, and that's why the soldiers killed him. As you guys can see in the thumbnail, chapter 1152. Now, I can't remember the show. I'll link them in the description. There's another One Piece podcast, One Piece anime channel here on YouTube, and they were talking about the chapter, and we figured out that Shanks was talking to Scopper Gaban about just merely bumping into Harold, chapter 1152, panels 14 and 15. Prior to that, going into this explanation, or maybe it was after that actually, maybe it's 16 and 17, but we do see Chief Tyrrell and Loki heading into the chamber, and then by 1819 we see them opening the door. Loki's freaking out because the guards are stabbing Harold, is because he has been Domi reversied, and here is why. So after Harold moved up from just a blade of God, which we saw Gunko was back in the past. They both moved up to Knights of God. Harold gained more power and immortality. So when we were talking about the different contracts, the surface sea contract just allows you maybe to be teleported or communication with Emu. This deep sea allows you immortality and more power. And then the deep contract would have to be between the Gorosei. That would be an immortal body that never ages, because we do know that Garland continued to age from God Valley up until our current day and age. So he doesn't have a deep sea contract. He just has a deep sea contract as one of the holy knights, or the Knights of God. Once he got promoted and took the spot of a Gorosei, he became immortal. And that's why you see some of the Gorosei at different ages. It all makes sense now. But Harold is immortal, or his body can recover fast. He doesn't stop aging. Emu ordered Harold to create the Abyssal Circle in Elbaph. So once you have a contract with Emu, Emu can't do it himself. You have to create a circle there. That is why it was in the throne room. Afterward, Emu ordered him to create a giant army for the government. Now we know that Harold wanted Saul to open up a school and didn't want to be in service or contract to the government if it meant Elbaph was warriors. Now that Harold is a Knight of God and knows about Emu and directly serves Emu, I think that shit's out the window. The Harold that ended up dying, and I'll give you my theories for the next prediction, he was turned. Chapter ends with Loki and Droll arriving to the castle. So we're going to, and I hope that it's not just arriving at the castle. I hope it's arriving and finding this out. And then we're getting to see a figure stealing the devil fruit and a small portion of a conversation between Loki and Harold. Here's my theory for this. Just looking at Droll, Loki, and Harold. Droll has the sword in his head. Now, all those soldiers that are in there, if there was 100, and Harold is now immortal and he has more power, he can kill all of them. I do believe Sai and a couple others were like, well, you think Loki took Harold down by himself and he's that strong? Loki is his son. He does have ancient giant blood, but you think Chief Droll, who is an ancient giant who is just as tall as Loki at his age of like 400 plus, you think he doesn't have any kind of hockey? Think back to Roger and Garp fighting Zebek. They weakened him enough to be killed by Garling, but they did not stop him. His body was just slow to regenerate. I think that while everyone in the castle, soldiers were fighting Harold getting slaughtered, you had Droll and Loki fighting him, trying to calm him down without hurting him. Then he stabbed Droll and Loki had to kill him. Somebody makes off with the devil fruit. Then we get Skopper Gaban and Shanks showing up, and that's where that's going to tie up. And maybe Shanks and Gaban know the truth about Loki, maybe not, but we do know Shanks captures Loki and brings him back to Elbaph, so maybe Loki escapes after this because he knows his dad's dead, and he had a hand in it, but the only person that can absolve him of that is Droll, and he has the knife or the sword in his head that still gives him pain, but prohibits his memory, and that's where I think that we're at. There's been a lot of things laid here. There's been a lot of glossing over things by Chief Droll when asked about what happened. And it could be because he knows the secret and he can't let it out because nobody would believe that all the work Harold did by going out to the world was him secretly plotting to overturn all that. Or he may not know what exactly happened, or he's trying to protect Loki because he can't justify any of it. You know, and that does stem with Harold being turned Domi Reversi. His personality is completely different, but maybe he doesn't remember and he does blame Loki. Don't know. He didn't go down to the underworld with him to talk to Loki. He's like, fuck him. They were drinking meat and shit. So that's my prediction. This chapter, hopefully we get a little bit more of this so we know what actually happened. I feel like Loki is just like Zoro. He didn't do shit, but he has responded to the way he's been treated since he was younger. And these motherfuckers are getting mad that he has a reaction to some bullshit they did, starting with his fucking mom. But Loki and Hydruden loved Ida. The shit that happened with Ida, justified. The people in Elbaph shouldn't be that fucking racist if Harold is going out and talking and branching out to other giants in other countries. Fuck them motherfuckers. Loki loves his dad because he didn't think when Zebek told him to call his dad that he would come back, and he did, and he supported him, and he told him he loved him and Hydruden and what his plans were. But Loki could not get with him giving himself up to the world government when he knew Davy D. Zebek, or he still doesn't know his name is Zebek, Davy D. or Rox D. Zebek, was trying to conquer the world, to change the world. He just sees his dad being a slave to the world. And what's happening here in the chamber, this is going to change and solidify who he is. But I think the only other person, 3 people have captured Loki's heart. He has a mother figure in Ida. He has a father figure in Davy D. Zebek. And he has a brother figure in Luffy, because Luffy heard all this shit. And Luffy was telling everybody. Luffy went against Zoro and said, I'll talk to him, and if this happens, I'll just beat his ass. And he got onto him for talking shit on Shanks, which at this time, Loki may only see the tattoo on his dad's arm and see that tattoo on Shanks' arm, because Shanks had his left arm at the time, and associate both of them as tools of Emu. That's why he ran. And even when Shanks captured him, Shanks would still have that tattoo. He doesn't lose it until he sacrifices his arm in Fuchsia Village for Luffy. Oda's just fucking cooking right now. Like, I am hungry for everything Oda's got. We have a break next week. I do not want to break, but I am excited to see the full summary spoilers, because this shit's going crazy. Thank you guys. What up, TMG Spike? You said, what's the best Yu-Gi-Oh series? Dude, I'm gonna tell you that I'm slipping before we end this One Piece stream. I'm slipping on both Digimon, all 3, Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, and Pokemon, because I can't tell you what the best series are. I can tell you which ones I rewatch. Pokemon is Indigo. I love the start of it. There's so much heart to it. For Yu-Gi-Oh, I love the original series of Yu-Gi-Oh, because in the first few episodes, Grandpa Yugi is telling these motherfuckers he ain't no bitch. He's not about money. He believes in the cards, and Seto Kaiba's like, fuck you, I'm kidnapping. No, Pegasus says, fuck you, I'm kidnapping your grandpa because you whooped my boy Seto Kaiba's ass. Because Seto went into the fucking store and was trying to punk this old nice man that was he's like, oh, I can't sell my card, it's my favorite card. You dumb old man, just being a bitch. But Maximilian Pegasus was a great villain, still in Souls, and pitting everybody against each other, that whole arc, and then losing Obelisk the Tormentor. That was fucking it's crazy. I loved it, and it got me to get my collection. I have 2 packs down here. I might have to just do a stream for you guys with Yu-Gi-Oh, but I would say go back to the first one, TMG Spike. And for everybody else, let me know in the comments what your predictions are, what your theories are. I think there's something to Loki seeing the tattoo and associating Shanks with his dad, even though Shanks was there visiting Skopper Gaban at the time and did not become a Knight of God. He's dipping out. I think he was infiltrating, because at this time, Skopper's like, what's it been? Only 3 or 4 years? And Shanks is like, no, it's been like a decade. You know, Roger's been dead. Like, at this point, it's been a couple years, because 15, yeah, he died like 30 years ago. So that's about 15 years ago from now. So yeah. What else? Geralt, the sword has to be impacting his memory. It's either that or he cannot explain why Harold turned. And Harold motherfucking 30 something years of being a slave, bro. Like, that's a lot. It'll go past fast for Giants, but for them to change so much and him to just be a piece of shit like that, it might ruin the structure of Elbaph. But honesty is the best fucking policy, especially when you have a motherfucker like Loki that's going to burden himself and shoulder all of Elbaph's sins. And remember, we don't know what the fuck is in the Heaven Realm. We don't know where this elder panel is that denied Harold access to marrying Ida before she was poisoned. So there's a lot of questions need to be answered here. 1168 is continuing with this flashback. The flashback continues. King Harold, it's going to switch over to Loki and Shanks. And then the only thing I can think of then is fast forward, we're back to Gimu. and Saint Somers Killingham, and then we're going to figure out who the rest of the knights are, because there is a pact between a solid 13. 5 are the Gorosei, which Garling is now a part of. So he is no longer just Saint Figarling of the captain. He is the supreme commander. Then we have Shamrock, Gunko, Somers, Killingham. Loki is replacing Garling, because Garling moved up. Shanks moved up. Shanks is not commander yet, I don't believe, but Loki was going to be a recruit for that. So we're missing the rest of them. We're going to get the rest of the God Knights. We're going to see what's going down and what is happening in Mary Joa, and try to figure out who Mosa is, because I'm sticking with the native speakers on this one. They say that Shirahoshi speaks very immaturely in a lot of things. She says she's very childish, but she's also overly polite because she's not that socialized, even overly polite to where it's weird that she does it with her family. So if she does it on the regular with her family, she would do that in conversation with anybody else. I do agree, though, that she kept the secret about her mom death, but she had to, because her mother did not want her to live her life hating and going for revenge. She wanted peace. They also say that the Mosa that is talking to Loki is very mature and says things of a sense of wisdom. They've lived for a little bit, so it just doesn't match up. But I'm excited to see who that is, because it's another layer of Elbaph that we don't know, and ties into how Loki sees the world after being chained up for 6 years. I'm Elijah 5000. Thank you guys so much for joining me. The next stream, turn on your notifications and be patient. These were brought to us by Pew Piece. Pew Piece does really well. It could be Radon from Arlon Park as well, or the Will of Marco, where I get the full summary scans. As soon as I get them, there'll be a video for you guys. But I think 17 minutes is a little bit tad too long, but we know what's going on. I will see you in the next one. Thank you guys, and peace.